Welcome back to Media 7. The Film Commission is currently the subject of a major review ordered by its new minister, Chris Finlayson. Simon Pound looks at one of the issues up for grabs.
The New Zealand Film Commission uses public money to support filmmaking. Currently, it is under review by Peter Jackson and David Court. One topic under consideration is how the Commission fosters feature-making talent, both for artistic and popular purposes. Currently, to blood-in directors, the NZFC focuses on funding short films, mainly made on film. They do this through the Short Film Fund, whereby proven producers select, oversee and deliver the films. This has been successful. Many shorts have made it to international competition, like Run, that was executive produced by Nick Beachman with Short Intercept. It went to Cannes.
I can't run. You have to.
Each short film costs around $90,000 to make, and 8 or so are made each year. In an online essay, producer Ant Timpson wondered whether some or all this money could be better spent developing low-budget features shot digitally. The essay drew 150 plus responses. The argument is that for a similar level of investment to a short, an entire movie can be made, and that there are ready audiences for features, while shorts are generally less populist. Timpson is pro-populist. He produced The Devil Dared Me To through the Headstrong initiative, the last instance where the Film Commission funded digital features. There is no longer a dedicated low-budget digital scheme. So, should there be a mix of funding to get more bang for our bucks?
I'm joined now by Ant Timpson. As you heard, one of the principals of the feature film development company Headstrong, which produced the digital features A Song of Good and The Devil Dared Me To. Award-winning short film producer Nick Beachman and Nick Grant, editor of the industry magazine On Film. Welcome to you all. Now, Ant, clearly your essay stirred some comment. It did seem to be very much an either-or argument that budget features should be funded instead of short films. Is it really that clear-cut? Is it a zero-sum game?
No, not really. I mean, I was definitely playing the devil's advocate to get a discussion going, but the overriding sense was we need to make more films. And we're in a cash-strapped recession at the moment, and it's going to be very difficult. And I think the process that's been set up with the Short Film Fund, which I think has been successful in many ways, is basically a system of starting with a lottery and then jumping through a series of hoops for a long time before you get into development, which can take up to 5 years to make a feature. And my argument is, like, to create a culture of energy and excitement amongst the next emerging talent base, you need to make stuff, basically.
How much of it is you wanting to make films? Because if you go to the Headstrong website, it looks like a going concern, but you're not making films at the moment.
Yeah, I'd be very happy staying well out of the whole production side of it and maybe assisting at the very end of the game, which I'm quite specialised in, is getting films seen by audiences. So I'm quite happy to do that and not necessarily be involved with the production, because I think that's the biggest argument that people had with me posting this discussion. It was like, well, you had you dipped into the Headstrong, fund from the Film Commission, so you've already had a run. Why are you coming back again and starting to look like you want another dip into the pie? And I was basically saying, well, I don't really care if it's me or anyone else. I just think someone's got to do it, and I think we need to start making more films. I don't want to be the guy that eliminates the Short Film Fund. I don't think that's the idea. I definitely see a balance, and I was playing, a devil's advocate. It was a hypothetical situation, but at the end of the day, I just want to see more films made in New Zealand. And I think at what we've got now, we haven't got enough films being made.
Nick Beachman, you've, I think, done as well as anyone ever has with the results from the Short Film Fund. Why do we fund short films? Why is it a good idea? Do other countries do it?
Other countries do it. I mean, we have a long history of doing it, and it's sort of become part of our cinema culture. And we have a long history of getting good results in short films. And I think the way that the scheme's set up actually does benefit filmmakers on the route to making a feature film. And I think there is a good development culture around short films. And there also is a distribution mechanism via the Film Commission that is effective in getting those films to A-list festivals, getting them out in the world. and giving those filmmakers the chance to get their voice heard.
How does it benefit them? Obviously they get their voice heard, but is it a matter of using those tools, using the grown-up 35mm? Is that what it's about?
I think, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. I think it gives filmmakers an opportunity to make something with production value that's commensurate to that of a feature film. And that becomes a great calling card for those people. So, if you like, it lets them speak with a cinematic voice. And it's in a short period of time, of course, but I think the results speak for themselves in terms of filmmakers, like Christine Jeffs, Nikki Caro and Taika Waititi, who have been through that scheme, made outstanding short films and then moved into feature films.
Can I interject here? I think which is great, and that's true. But when you've got a system where it's the only, that's the end game. That's the system that's set up. So of course the results are going to justify the means of the entire process. So without anything else being offered, how do you know what else would work? And I'm just saying that obviously.
Well, it's not at the expense of other things being offered.
Yeah. Well, it is.
Is it at the expense of Nick Grant?
I don't know that it is.
Well, it's that's the system that they've had so far, and so by dint of opportunity cost, that is the case. But I don't think it's necessarily been a conscious decision to say we won't have any truck with low budget features. It's just that they've set up this particular development path, and they've found. What
is the development path? How does it work?
Well, essentially, you come to the attention of the Film Commission in a variety of ways, but every year, essentially, you have producers. You have a devolved development fund, it's described as, where producers such as Nick are given a bunch of money, and they have to produce, or executive produce rather, oversee and mentor filmmakers to make 2 to 3 short films for the money that they've got. And so then people have to apply to those what are described as pods, and shortlists are drawn up of short films that look like they've got prospects, they have good talent attached to it, etc., etc. And so there's quite a rigorous process that's involved. I think the question that Ant's raising, and I think he's been deliberately provocative in suggesting that it's maybe an either-or, and but saying, well, why is that the only way? Because I think you can argue that making a good short film isn't necessarily going to guarantee that you're going to make a good feature film.
Nick Beachman described it as a calling card. Is that its real function? Is that it signals talent to the rest of the industry and maybe identifies those people who are capable of making a fully fledged feature?
I think it's one of the functions. I think Nick's right in that it gives people the opportunity to play with the big boys and girls' toys and and show their chops, etc., etc. And it's a lot easy. Well, easy is not the right word, but I think it's a lot more manageable to make a good short film than it is to make a really good feature film right off the bat. Feature film is hard yakka, as is short films, but you've got because it's just the length is much shorter. You've got more control over.
How much of a problem is it that the Moving Image Centre actually put on a great program of short films, both Film Commission funded and otherwise?
Sure.
There weren't many of us saw those. Whereas I can walk into Video Easy and I can get Ant's film on DVD any time. Is that a problem?
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're touching on something that is, I think, is currently being resolved. I think the issue of, I think a lot of short films, the presumption a lot of the times that these films do well overseas, but the New Zealand audiences don't see them. And I think a lot of the people that work on short films don't get to see them either, and at the moment that's an issue with distribution. They are on MTS, on Māori television, who've been great in supporting them, so Rialto Channel, but again, it's not wide distribution. I think Simon went in to try and get a DVD of them in advance of the show, and I think the future for that is download, which I believe is in the works at the moment, so you'll be able to stream them and download them.
Will that be on YouTube or will it be on a dedicated
I think it might
site?
even be on the Film Commission's website, and there may even be some talk of another portal for that as well.
And you made your films under the old Digital Feature Fund. Would you like to see simply that system brought back, or would you like to see it done differently?
Well, I think, can I toot my own horn again? And I will. The 48-hour event, which is one of the things why I sort of got involved with this whole discussion, is that The winner this year of that competition has been picked up by the Film Commission, and it was made for nothing in a weekend. So it didn't cost $90,000 to $100,000. It was made for nothing, but it's going to be on the same level as those shorts that cost that amount. So there was a light bulb going off, going, well, maybe we can source some of these shorts from outside of the short film fund itself, and maybe some of that extra remaining cash can go towards a low-budget feature from a lot of the talent that comes through the 48-hour event, which that is primarily talent that doesn't get onto the radar of the Film Commission because there are people that don't go through that process of hoop jumping and having a producer who's very strong, supporting them the whole way. And this is what the whole review is about with Peter Jackson and David Court, is we need to give it back to the creatives because at the moment it's producer-driven. And I know that for a fact, that a lot of the talent through the 48 hours are terrified of the NZFC, and for speaking out, like tonight, I'm blacklisted for life, probably. I mean, that's the fear.
I'll ask Nick Grant about this because you haven't got the horse in the game. Is this an issue that people are wary of criticising the existing system because everyone's got something in development, everyone needs money?
Yeah, or they'd like to have stuff in development, sure. And I mean, it does have a chilling effect on people commenting publicly on the record. But by the same token, I mean, covering the film industry and the TV industry, I'm in the situation of being like a restaurant critic who has to write reviews on the basis of pressing their nose against the window of the restaurant and looking at what's going on inside, and then talking to the stream of customers coming out, the most of whom are disgruntled, or the ones who stop to talk to you, and it's like you're saying, well, people, there is a fear, and the fact that there is the perception that that your career prospects might be affected by speaking out about things to do with the process or the specific decisions that the Film Commission makes, is a worry, Then again, everybody who is trying to get films made are very passionate about what they're doing, and in order to get anywhere in this industry and much of life in general, a sense of self-belief is quite essential. So it's a rare filmmaker who's going to take on board, criticism or be told that, well, we're not interested in making a film, and accept that and walk away, with good grades.
As Anne pointed out, he's got a lot of people picking up cameras. Is that actually changing the environment? And I wonder what you think about that too, Nick.
Well, just actually to Ant's point, those people, he's talking about someone who's won the competition, and those people are, the financing schemes for short films at the Creative New Zealand level and the Film Commission level are open to those people. And we do look at their stories, and we do look at their scripts, and they do get even consideration. So I don't think it's elitist to the point of excluding people from the process, because it's an open call for scripts.
I think there's a perception out there that it is, though, and because I deal with thousands of these people who are involved with the event.
But is it simply a numbers game, Ant, given that we can only fund 8 films a year?
Completely, yeah. But it's also, maybe there should be another opportunity for those people to go through a process where there's an excitement and some payoff.
I think what we're actually in accord about is the fact that in addition to the Short Film Fund, which demonstrably works, it was reviewed recently, and most of the outcomes were good. Is that
you keep getting films into Cannes, so it's...
Well, no. Yeah. It's the filmmakers that do it. We just act as the funding agent, as it were. But I think what we're in accord about is there's another stage after the short film before getting a developed $2 or $3 million feature film up that perhaps is missing, where people have an opportunity to make a film for less risk that is more open as well. And I'm not just saying you have to go through the Short Film Fund to do it, but it's more...
Is the technical gulf narrowing anyway?
I think it is in terms of
digital
acquisition and delivery are both increasingly digital, and we're becoming accustomed to it. But I think there is, if we're talking about a $100,000 short film and a $100,000 feature film, there is a vast gap between that. And I think it's important to acknowledge that the film industry underwrites all of these films with their participation, with donating cameras and people's time, that's implicit underneath all of these productions, whether it's a short film on 35mm or a digital feature. But I do think to get enough production value to sell a film, to distribute a film, to get it to an audience, I think $100,000 is not enough, quite frankly.
Well, we'll see what the review comes up with. No, I hope there's a balance can be struck. Anyway, that is our show for this week. Thank you to Ant Timpson, Nick Beachman and Nick Grant, and to our youth panellists, Eva Maria, Zach Dorner and Tai Ahu, and Imogen Neal, John Hartveld and Jehan Casanada. And thanks to you for watching. We'll be back with Media 7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.